Thank you once again, the entire organizing committee, especially Dr. Unni and Dr. Manoj and Dr. Jay, for this opportunity to be here in this galaxy of stalwarts. And I will be speaking on LAMH, and I hope you will not be bored with the overlap, but at the same time, I assure you that there will be some answers to the questions which were left unanswered in the previous sessions. So today in the modern era, we are able to make a clear distinction between numerous clinical, seemingly similar conditions. Like, for example, VMT, ERM with pseudo-hole, or an FTMH and lamellar hole, a CME with JXLR, and MACTEL2 and thin retina of macular dystrophies. But these were in the pre-OCT era, we would pass off without a definitive diagnosis, because the common clinical finding would be a round red spot, and this is what we were told to describe these lesions by our professors in medical college during our residency. And these are the examples of the round red spots that I was alluding to. So when we go back to the evolution of our understanding of LAMH, and we don't have to go too long back, actually just about 10 years ago. And even after the availability of OCT, we had the OCT at that time. We found that, see, this is a publication of 2008, and we find that we did not seem to have a clear concept about LAMH, and we were still talking in terms of lamellar macular defects and not macular holes as per se. So the authors, Chen and Lee, described three subtypes of lamellar macular defects: the macular pseudo-holes, the lamellar macular holes in the foveal pseudocyst. Lamellar macular defects which had a sharply punched out, well-defined, steepened foveal contour were classified as macular pseudo-holes. OCT profiles corresponding to lamellar macular holes had a thin and irregular foveal floor overlying the plane of the RPE. And the pseudo-hole, there was extension of the cavity of the lamellar macular hole, you can see here. I don't know whether it's right there, I'm sorry. And there was a lateral extension in these holes, in the lamellar holes that they described, with clear splitting of the outer and inner retinal holes. And in the pseudocysts that they described, foveal pseudocysts, they found that the cysts were mainly in the inner retinal layers with attachment to the posterior hyaloid, with focal attachment at the fovea and detachment elsewhere. So Witkin and associates described the four diagnostic criteria. We will not go into the details, this is theoretical. Theories of causation of lamellar macular hole, union of intraretinal cysts had been proposed, aborted formation of full thickness macular hole, and centrifugal contraction of epiretinal membranes was what was proposed as the causative theories. What about management? With encouraging results of surgery with full thickness macular holes, the same technique was extended simultaneously to lamellar macular holes as well by a number of researchers. And you can see that there was a good response in those patients by these authors. Vitrectomy and ILM peeling appears to be effective, was what the consensus was during those days. And this is just about 5 years ago. Bruce Garretson et al. Noted that vitrectomy and ILM peeling, stripping they called it, appears to be beneficial treatment, and this they claimed as the largest interventional series during those times, and they said that vitrectomy and ILM peeling is an appropriate and beneficial treatment approach for this group of patients. Lamellar macular hole as currently classified may represent more than one condition with potentially different natural histories and surgical outcomes, because neither the theories of causation put forth nor the anatomical and surgical results explain the entire spectrum of findings that we have seen. So added to this, we have the LHEP, about which so much of discussion elapsed. an entity considered to be characteristic of lamellar macular hole, and this entity may define a particular subtype of lamellar macular hole. Work by Andrea Govete et al., and this is the paper on which my talk is going to be centered, and many of our doubts in the pathophysiology and therefore also the management of LAMH, and their statements are quite convincing, the work of Andrea. And this is just 2 years ago. So they said there are two types of lamellar macular hole. They proposed a classification based on the sketic appearance and the cavitated appearance. The sketic appearance consists of multiple narrow hyperreflective tissue bridges crossing wider hyporeflective spaces located between the outer plexiform layer and the outer nuclear layer, like you see in the slide at the top of the picture here. And the cavitated appearance, presence of a homogeneous round-edged hyporeflective space in the neurosensory retina. And then you can see that in the sketic appearance, there was the skesis located between the two layers, as I just said. A thin ERM, like Dr. MPS just mentioned while moderating the previous session, a hyporeflective line, a thin hyporeflective line with focal attachments indicative of traction, and intraretinal cystic spaces like here. I'm sorry, the mouse is not working there. There are intraretinal sketic spaces, intraretinal cysts here. Compared to the cavitation type, where there are wide homogeneous hyporeflective areas, epiretinal proliferation, which is homogeneous material with medium reflectivity clinging onto the inner retinal surface, unlike the thin ERM, and intraretinal cysts were absent. So these are the two different types or morphological types that they described. And then there was, okay. And then there was another finding in the degenerative lamellar macular hole with the LHEP. They found that the ellipsoid zone was disrupted, and as compared to the one in the tractional lamellar macular hole where the ellipsoid zone was intact. Certain other morphological differences were also there. So here we have the moustache appearance and also the ratio between the inner, still not working, the inner hole, it doesn't matter. The ratio between the inner and outer diameter was less than 1:2 in the moustache appearance or the sketic variety compared to the top hat appearance that you see in the cavitated appearance, where the ratio between the inner and outer diameter is more than 1:2. The natural history, if you see, the tractional type progressed more rapidly in concordance with any pathology, like you see on the left, and ongoing dynamic changes are always there with the tractional one, versus the slow progression typical of many degenerative conditions, but the vision did not change between the two different types that they described. Management, I think, despite some anatomic progression in both groups, they claimed that because of the slow progression, there is not much to do in these patients except to observe. And this is a study which they compared functional and morphological characteristics of lamellar macular holes with and without lamellar hole associated EP, that is LHEP, and they found that the prognosis or outcomes in the LHEP associated lamellar holes was lesser or was not as good as the one without macular holes. Let us see a few of our own cases. This is a 72-year-old gynecologist patient who came to us with a cavitated type of hole, and you can see that post-surgery there was a conversion to a total macular hole, but over a period of time, over a period of 1 year, there was this slow development of an outer retinal layer in this patient. You can see that the hole which was looking full thickness developed a layer of outer retina in the later period of follow-up. I'm done in about a minute. So this is the other eye of the same patient, which closed fully, and the vision from 660 improved to 624. Another patient which was mistakenly diagnosed as diabetic macular edema with 612 vision, treated with Lucentis, very rapidly over a 2-month period developed further scetic cavities and developed a lamellar macular hole. And this is an example of a rapid progression of a degenerative type, which is very much unlike what was described in the paper. An ERM with a pseudo hole with good vision was operated because of some symptoms. And you can see that 1 week post-op, there was this picture of the lamellar hole coming, showing up something like a foveal ectopia that the previous speakers mentioned. And this hole was getting more and more well-defined. And it is difficult to know the morphology and to predict how these folded maculas will unfold after surgery. So we are yet to decipher the pathophysiology of LAMH in totality and select cases for surgical intervention. So today we stand at the zenith of modern technology, in that yet we are unable to predict the outcomes. High magnification of a large macular hole with a 27 gauge surgery is what is being shown there on the slide with the Ingenuity machine. I'll skip that. So to summarize, I would say that imaging has improved our understanding of lamellar macular holes. Surgical techniques have improved thanks to modern technology, and surgery has become safer and the results are definitely better. But definitely we are able to better select cases for surgery and probably counsel these patients about the outcomes of these conditions. Thank you very much.